Bob Foulkrod, world-famous hunter and the host of this episode, heads off on a Christmas season fair chase whitetail hunt with Triangle T Outfitters in north central Texas on Winchester's Whitetail Revolution.
And as my glasses are turning and it's going to the side like that, it took my breath away.
I got it. There he goes. Okay.
Winchester's Whitetail Revolution is brought to you by Winchester Ammunition, the American legend, Bushnell Optics, Magnify Life, Code Blue, perfecting the science of hunting, Winchester Repeating Arms, the guns that work. Winchester's Whitetail Revolution focuses on north central Texas just before Christmas as host Bob Foulkrod joins Triangle T Outfitters in search of a trophy buck. Triangle T, operated by veteran outfitter Ed T-Bloss, hunts on over 30,000 acres of rolling, semi-arid terrain to the west of Dallas and Fort Worth. While South Texas may be considered the gold standard for big whitetails, just an hour outside Dallas, these monster bucks roam free over its vast terrain. The average buck taken is well into the 140-plus range, and a record non-typical that scored 225 and 7/8 was taken just north of Dallas.
I hadn't hunted here. I had some friends that hunted down here, and they'd done real well, and Ed and I actually tried out one of his other ranches. Especially when Whitetail Revolution is looking for fair chase, no high fences. It's pretty hard to find a place in Texas that's not high fence. Ed's got a lot of different places, got a lot of different ranchers, like a lot of them down here. I mean, he's got places that are high fence, and he's also got low fences, such as the property that we hunted today. So no matter what you're looking for, I'll tell you what, when you come with Ed, you're going to get a fair shake and a big smile.
Here at Triangle T Outfitters in north central Texas is where I hunt all of my whitetail deer at. I've got a total of 21 ranches in the state of Texas. We have multiple animals, 39 species of exotics, boar and wild turkey, primarily Rio Grande turkey. These deer here that we hunt are not high fence deer. They are free range deer. The genetics are here, the food source is here. All they need is to grow up and you have quality deer.
Well, unlike a lot of places in Texas, you come down here, this is a one buck zone, and that's probably why Ed's got a lot of nice deer down here.
What we're going to do this morning is, as soon as we get light, we're a little bit early here, we're going to slip up over the top of these old rough breaks, and there's some wheat fields in this top in here. There's a big deer that I've seen up here last 2 days. We're going to try to get in there on that big deer and maybe get a shot at that rascal if he doesn't outsmart us.
Well, when you come down here with Ed, all depends on what time of year is how he's going to guide you. In this particular case, we was going to hunt the green field in the morning, was going to be on foot, was going to be glassing. So we started out cautiously, you know, just getting light where you can put the binoculars up and you can see shadows, and he was waiting to see where they had any horns on. We was going to swing around the corner and hit another green field.
We got the second part of the rut just starting up. We've got some deer out there right now. We got one that's chasing, but it's too early to tell what he is.
Well, we came down here and Ed was a little disappointed in some of his food plots. I hadn't had rain in quite a while, so the green wasn't up a whole lot like he was hoping for, but the sunrise was kind of early. Those bigger bucks had moved off the field.
Well, to heck with it, let's go to plan B. There ain't no sense wasting any more time right here. He done jumped the fence on us. Dirty dog.
This certainly isn't Bob Foulkrod's first time in Texas in pursuit of its wide variety of game.
There's a beautiful buck right there.
In fact, there are few parts of the world where Foulkrod hasn't been in a lifetime of hunting. Foulkrod's hunted from mountaintops to desert floors and the Arctic to the equator and beyond.
Does he hang up in there or what?
He set foot on every continent where there's big game to be found, and he's not done yet.
Bob, now, we didn't get that deer this morning up there on the wheat, so what we're going to do is we're going to plan some new strategies here. There's a ridge where these deer work through and come down through this little gully, and we'll try to set you up there for the day and see if you can catch one of these old rutting bucks moving.
Where was that wheat field from where we was this morning that we looked over?
Wheat field's
over here?
way back up on top, yeah.
So they should be coming this way and bed in this.
They bed and all this stuff, and this big high cedar, they can shade in there when it's hot.
Oh boy. Well, I got everything I need to build a blind.
Okay, Bob. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll leave you here for the day and I'll be back at dark. Good luck. See if you can kill a slammer.
All right, thanks. I should break up my outline real good right there. Oh yeah.
Hunting on private land, Bob is not required to wear blaze orange, so he takes this opportunity to bring out his ghillie suit. Used by Marines as sniper cover, Bob uses it as the ultimate portable ground blind to break up his cover and hopefully get a shot at a great Texas buck.
We set up a ground blind overlooking this big valley that overcovered just, geez, I don't know how far, miles, I guess.
There's some does right there. There's a little buck. That's good having them does in there as a decoy, especially the second rut starting up. There's a buck right there. That's a good buck. That's a good buck right there.
The hunt for free-ranging Texas deer continues on Winchester's Whitetail Revolution. Scott Burton thought he had missed his buck of a lifetime, but as Mike Hanbeck explains, his persistence paid off.
One day last fall, Ohio bow hunter Scott Burton fired an arrow right over the top of a giant whitetail buck. Scott was bummed, but amazingly, a week later, the big buck came back. This time his arrow was perfect. The 13-pointer green scored 196 and 5/8. Know what's even more amazing? Scott shot that monster on 5 acres he owns, right in the town limit. You know, there are two lessons here. One, you don't need 300 acres or more to shoot a big buck these days. Big deer live in small spots. Don't overlook them. Also, if you miss a buck, especially with your bow, all's not lost. Big deer like to hunker down in little spots where they feel safe and comfortable. Let a spot cool down, hunt smart, you might get a second chance at your dream buck, just like Scott did. For more great big buck action, check us out on the web at versuscountry.com.
Bob is on the open range hunting for big bucks in central Texas in December. Bucks are on the move and have been staying out of range.
In this particular area right here, it's pretty arid country, less than 12 inches of rain per year. However, on this particular ranch, we've got 22 tanks. All you folks out there might call those ponds. We call them tanks. We've got over 11 miles of the South Wichita River that winds through this ranch and cuts it in half, so we've got plenty of water. It's just a great living room for these deer, and they do very well here.
Oh, I had a 1,000-yard shoot up in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Ed invited me down and we hunted and shot a real nice buck with him. And Ed talked to him every year at the Harrisburg Sports Show, and you know, here we are back down here hunting again.
What's that deer there? His rack's broke off. Just got his brow tines up with That's why I want to see the guy that broke that rack right there. It's been a pretty good day. We've had deer moving all through today. There's a buck right there. That's a good buck. That's a good buck right there. Oh no, that's an 8-point young deer. That's a young buck right there. That's the ones that Ed wants to let grow up. Well, one thing's for sure, this little blind worked good.
That was a great day. We built a little ground blind there, and these deer would work their way up through. And we seen nice little young 8-point and some spikes and some does, and that kept our interested. When we went to bed that night, we was kind of anticipation of getting back on that green field, because I could tell Ed had seen a nice buck there, and we were looking for him. Oh, Ed's got more acres in Texas than I can even imagine. Plus, he's got so many different species of game that it's impossible to go through it all.
What do you think about that little game trail right there, Bob?
You got a coyote, hog, deer.
Bobcat right there.
There's a Pennsylvania hunter's track right
Oh
there.
God, there he is. I see that.
Yeah, about 200 pounds.
Yeah, at least. Better number 12.
I can see some shadows out there, but I can't see whether it's any horns on them or not.
The light kept getting a little lighter, and we was watching this one little buck just go right in front of us, about 50 yards out.
I got it. There he goes. Okay.
Winchester's Whitetail Revolution is brought to you by Winchester Ammunition, the American legend. Bushnell Optics, magnify life. Code Blue, perfecting the science of hunting. Winchester Repeating Arms, the guns that work. Bob is on the open range hunting for big bucks in Central Texas in December. Bucks are on the move and have been staying out of range.
The quality of deer on this ranch are absolutely excellent. We have taken deer that we like to harvest from 140, 3.5 years old, up to 194 and 4/8, which is our biggest buck that we've harvested yet. One of the reasons we have these mature bucks is we have vast areas that we do not overhunt. We have a management program in place that holds a hunter's feet to the fire on harvesting a 3.5-year-old buck or older. As far as the cover for these deer, you can see we've got plenty of cover. And in addition to that, we plant several food plots in our hunting areas. We've probably got in the neighborhood of 800 acres of cultivation in the form of wheat.
We knew early in the hunt that the bucks had already came through, so we was trying to catch those bucks coming back in that area and bedding down, and possibly getting back up to go to the green field at nighttime.
What are we doing now, Ed?
We're hoping that we can catch this old buck on top this morning that jumped the fence and run that doe over across the highway yesterday morning. So
Go back up and do the same thing we did yesterday.
yeah, well, let's start right there and see if we can get lucky.
Well, Ed didn't want to give up on that green field. He'd seen that big buck in there. He sat there and he says, I think we ought to start there every morning. The first morning we sat there, he got a glimpse of him just as a daylight, and he was chasing a doe. We're just going to go back in there. When Ed's eyes are sparkling, he tells you it's a big buck. Well, you know, I'm going to listen to him. We're going to go back in there and see what we can do. Well, you come out of the North Country, you know, normally you freeze your buttocks off, and, you know, I love to come to Texas just before that Christmas time or right after Christmas, you know, the first year catching that last week of season. Normally it's pretty warm. In this case, it was warm the first day, but she kind of cooled off, and that was good news for us because it sure did make those deer move.
Did you say we're gonna have an African sunrise, huh?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it's gonna be a pretty sunrise. I can see some shadows out there, but I can't see whether it's Any horns on them or not?
I don't know if we got up a little early or the morning was a little later, but we seemed to get in there and we kind of come up over. We pulled off in that green field, and well, I mean, it was hard just to see the cows out in the field, the big old black blobs out there, and then as it started to get a little lighter, we could see some silhouettes of some deer.
It's getting under this tree down here.
The light kept getting a little lighter, and we was watching this one little buck just go right in front of us, about 50 yards out, and as my glasses are turning and it's going to the side like that, it took my breath away.
That's the one we want right there.
I got plenty enough to like to see him and shoot him right then, but you could tell he was going to go back just like he did yesterday morning. He was going to go back in before it got real light, you know, the sun came up. Him walking away, it looked like he was 30 inches wide. I mean, just fantastic. Bucks always look bigger when they're walking away, but this thing looked huge. Nobody had to tell me to shoot. And I said, man, that is a fantastic buck.
I got him, Ed. Okay. Whenever you're ready, Bob. He's walking away from me. Got his butt to me. I got him that time.
You got him that time. There he is. He's down right there.
Oh, I can't believe what I missed him that first shot.
No, you hit the hot wire.
Is that what I hit?
Yeah, there's a hot wire running across that field, and you hit the hot wire.
I didn't think we was ever going to get enough daylight for him to film. I sat there, I had him right here, like 70 yards walking. Yeah. I could see him, and I could, oh man.
But he's headed for the brush.
He beat us yesterday.
I'm telling you.
He didn't beat us this morning.
We got up earlier this morning, Bob.
I'm telling you what, that is one beautiful buck right there.
I tell you what, there ain't too many animals walk from that Winchester ammo. In this case, he was running across, but he never made that fence. He made it to it, but he didn't have enough energy to jump over it. You know, Ed he just smiled and said, man, you got him. You know, and man, we took across the field. And I'll tell you what, the anticipation was high. He picked up the horns. And one thing he didn't do is he didn't ground shrink. Look at that. Is that pretty or what? I'll tell you.
That's a good buck.
That is. He gave us a slip yesterday. He got off the field before. I thought he was going to get off the field this morning before we got enough light to film him. Well, I'll tell you what, from your management and everything that you're doing here, that buck that we seen last night, in a couple of years will look just like this, you know, nice 8-point, heavy beam. Right there, Christmas buck. Looking right at you, a Christmas buck. Oh, thanks again, my friend.
Yes, you're certainly welcome, Bob.
What can you expect when you come down here and hunt this particular ranch? Well, let me tell you, the minimum is 140, just what I got. You know, so you think about that. It's 140 on up. That's a pretty impressive buck. I don't care where you're hunting.
Winchester's new ammunition ballistics calculator is live on Winchester.com. Choose your type of ammunition and compare up to 5 different Winchester products with easy-to-read high-tech ballistic charts and graphs. Customize shooting conditions by entering wind speed and outside temperature, adjust zero marks for sighting in, then print the ballistics for later reference on the range or in the field. The Winchester Ballistics Calculator, only on Winchester.com.